So we've looked at how we can be connected to life and humanity, and we can be cells of this larger container. And then can we then go inwards and see that this container, this system, has a series of cells and it's all a part of the larger. And then looking into the psyche and then seeing that there's this essence of self, and then there's these parts which are put into these parentalized roles at young ages to protect self-energy, because self-energy probably wasn't wise enough, didn't have enough self-energy to protect in those early stages of childhood development. So those parts being placed in these protective areas then are potentially creating from fear, threat, and then we've got this other essence, well, not other, in a sense, what you are and parts, this essence, that comes from a place of non-threat. And we've also spoken about each platform has its own potential to create from and potential to receive to as well. So in this video I want to talk about how parts use particular behaviours and can also use particular values to stay safe. And this is something that we don't necessarily see within acceptance and commitment therapy, the differentiation of from where am I creating from where am I utilizing the value from. Because in ACT we talk about value-based decisions, getting in touch with your values, and it's beautiful to get in touch with your values because that in a sense drives and guides our concept of self. So from an IFS lens, the question that I have found quite intriguing is how parts use values and how self can also use values. Now, and once again, those values will determine a decision that is then being made. And that decision has an energy, has a vibration, it is then transmitted, and once it has been built like a 3D printer enough within the unseen, the non-physical, it then gets placed upon our path in the physical. As much as parts using values to create, and then it's then placed upon our path. So it's really interesting to see what is being placed upon our path as we move with life, and then to, in a sense, reverse engineer it. Oh, okay, where did that come from? Right, that came from self. Where did that come from? Oh, that came from a part. And there seems to be these patterns that these parts seem to create. And if I can start to notice the pattern, then I can then start to inquire into it from self to then see, right, what value is this part utilizing to stay safe? And that's the key is that, and here's some examples, because we can go, oh, this is quite global, Maurice, I can't really grasp what you're saying. So a very simple one, because we can look at compassion. We go, oh, compassion, it's the gateway to self. I can have compassion for others and I'm coming from self-energy. Are we truly? Because this is a little tricky one. So what I've found in my own experience and conversations with others is that if I have compassion for another, and now compassion is very different to sympathy, okay? Empathy is an element of compassion. But sympathy is I'm feeling sorry, I'm pitying somebody. There's in a sense a judgment that goes with that. So if there's any sympathy or pity, I'm going to suggest that it's coming from a part. However, with compassion, compassion, I can allow someone else to have their own experience. and I can give my compassion to it. I'm not trying to take away their experience, because ultimately if I try to take away their experience, I then take away their learning opportunity, their growth. That's their experience. So if I have just compassion for another and I'm not able to have compassion for self, I would suggest that that comes from a part. If I have compassion for another and I have compassion for self, then I would suggest that that is more self energy. Now, maybe I could have compassion for another. Could that be just from self energy? I could then notice when I ask the question, can I be compassionate to that to self, for this system, for this vehicle? And then I might hear a part saying, no, I can't. So see, it's the part that can't have compassion for self. So it could be a bit of a mix there. So this is something to be aware of. Now this is the fine tuning of these value systems. It also allows us to tune into, okay, how much self energy is here, how much parts energy is here, how much has parts created upon my pathway in life. And as I'm becoming more and more aware of self energy, as I become more and more self-led, I'm going to be creating from self. How can I see where maybe I've created from both? And as we do, we are creating from both, because this is consciousness having a human experience. This is this is duality. So other values that people could use, we could use loyalty. Loyalty could be a value that parts can use to stay with a project, stay in a relationship, stay with a group of people, stay at work because of loyalty. So see how my loyalty trumps all of these other values, because if I'm not loyal, then I'm not safe. If I'm not loyal, then what does that say about me? I'm a bad person. I'm a bad father, mother, I'm a bad employee, I'm a bad husband, wife. So I'm going to use loyalty to stay in something that potentially doesn't serve me anymore. So see how the part can use loyalty to maybe stay longer in a situation, an environment that one may not need to. Now, from another way of looking at that is that I'm being loyal to others, maybe even also, and once again, I'm just putting this out there, maybe, am I being loyal to myself? So see how with compassion, I can be compassionate to others, but if I can't be compassionate to self, then that's going to come from a part. Now, the other side of it too is you go, well, what if people are just loyal to themselves and not loyal to others? What if they're only compassionate to themselves but can't be compassionate to others? Then I'd say that that's a part as well. It's a dual. I think both and others, I think, is the indicator of it. So it's interesting, we can sometimes make decisions based upon the values. This value is really, really strong for me. Honour, truth, loyalty, respect, all those things, and they're really beautiful values. However, can I inquire into them and go, well, if I don't do this, what does that say about me? And if it's coming from a space of fear, if it's coming from a space of threat, or I don't feel safe, or this is survival, then it's going to come from a part. Now, that doesn't mean that parts are bad, self is good. There are no bad parts, as Richard Swartz has said in his latest book, which is beautiful. And I'll put up a picture of that in this video as well. So, can I then start to, as I'm becoming more and more aware of the decision-making process, and really ultimately trying to bring this awareness of self and parts, who's creating, who's alive in me at the moment? What is alive in me at the moment? Is it parts or is it self? And where am I creating from? And also, how do I create? And what are the parameters that I'm using to engineer what I'm creating as well? So that's a bit of a global exploration of where am I creating from? Is it hope or is it fear? Is it self or is it parts? And I'm going to probably assume that it's going to be both. As I become more self-led, I will be more creating from self as I start to reintegrate, reharmonize my parts into self. And can I notice the difference? And that's ultimately what it's about. So that's a synopsis, I guess, of what the session was about. And I just wanted to be able to put that into, I guess, a couple or 3 videos so they're bite-sized in a sense. All right. Thank you for joining me. Please comment below. Please share this if you found it valuable. And I'm happy to have conversations around this because I absolutely love this mind model, this therapy, the relationship that this promotes within self and also others, and the understanding that it gives from a global and universal perspective of what this life represents. So thank you from my heart for joining me today.